This is the listing for welovewp.com, which sold on Flippa about 5 months ago. Now, here's what the buyer would have seen when they landed on the page. So, fairly standard page. We see here that it's been listed once before. The sale didn't go through. The title doesn't have very much detail. It just says the best WordPress gallery. There's no mention of revenue or history or anything like that. So, right when you look at it, even the description, there's not much detail. But it gets a little bit more interesting when you take a look at the due diligence data. So just quickly, we'll look over here. It has a Google PageRank of 4, which is quite good. It has an Alexa rank of under 100,000, which is also great. And then 110 links in Google, so already very interesting, and over 96,000 inbound links that point to welovewp.com. So that's something obviously requires a little bit more research, but it's a good website at first glance. A few more things about this listing. It has a registration date of May 2007. But the claimed site age is for April 2007, so there's a little bit of a discrepancy here, but it's not massive, and the site was established in 2007. They're not claiming a 2 or 3 year difference at least. Now, there's a good amount of traffic. If we look over here at the claimed traffic, there's 72,000 page views per month, and that's actually just under 16,000 uniques per month. So that means that there were people coming back to the site a few times, which can be a good sign. It can be a sign of loyal following or highly engaged users. Over here, we'll look at the revenue. So fairly steady if we omit those spikes over here. But generally, it was pulling in about just under 800 a month and just under 600 a month in net profit. So a pretty good margin for that. Let's look at the way the auction was actually conducted. So there was some good information here. There was a verified Google Analytics PDF. Let's go take a look at that one. And over here, we can see that the analytics data points to fairly steady traffic throughout the year. You can see the map overlay for the most common visits to the site. So there's a fair bit from Brazil, a lot from the United States, quite a few from Great Britain and a few other countries in Europe, and a good number from India as well. But it's pretty steadily divided over these. Same thing, pretty much perfectly balanced for the traffic sources, which is something we like to see certainly in a website. Now, it's important to mention that the current Google Analytics data that we collect on Flippa isn't quite as thorough. There was a change in the way that Google Analytics handles the exported PDFs that we receive. It doesn't currently have the traffic sources, the map overlay, but it does, of course, have the site usage statistics, which are quite important. So what we generally recommend is to, for the seller to upload their own information as well that bidders can verify. If we get back to the listing, there's also net profit attachment from Buy and Sell Ads, which is their advertising network. And this also has all of the information for advertising. One thing that I particularly liked about this listing was that the seller was quite engaged with the comments. He added a little bit more details. So over here, the seller mentions that the registration date is indeed May and not April. So that's a discrepancy we noticed a little bit earlier. The seller goes and answers questions. One thing we notice here is that there are a good number of people who are interested. Asking questions, looking around, asking for the reserve as a private message. And over here, we see that the reserve has been lowered. That's a comment by the seller. And over here, we see that the buy it now has also been lowered. So let's go see what that actually looks like in the bidding. We can take a look at the seller themselves by looking at their profile. So right away, we see they have perfect feedback of 100%, that they've made just over $34,000 in sales. And that's across, we see over here, across 5 transactions. They've received 3 positive feedbacks. One thing that I like to look at is the size of the transactions. So the first one was just under $150, the second one for $500, both small websites. The third one, the most recent one, was for just under $10,000 and talks about an escrow transactions and that there were some delays, but they got through it. They were able to work with the buyer. So that's all excellent signs when looking for potential website purchase. You want to know that the person has done a transaction of this size before. Let's look at the bidding history. Now, there were 8 bidders in total. We see here that bidder number 8 won, and that over here, the winning bid was actually a buy it now bid. So let's see how it played out. Now, I know that the auction went live at 6:19 on November 24th, and this first bid here actually came just 25 minutes later. So bidder 1 started with a low bid at $80. To me, it looks like someone who's just trying their chance, just claiming their interest over here. Now, just a few hours later, bidder number 2 came along and placed a bid for $1,000. We're already a little bit more into serious territory over here. And then just a few hours after that, just before 2 a.m. on the first day of the auction, bidder number 3 placed a bid for $5,000. So that's probably the biggest jump we see in this auction. That's a sharp rise, but we're still under reserve. Bidder number 4 is quite quick on bidder 3's heels. He places a bid at $6,000 just an hour and a half later. And right after that, bidder 5 comes in and places their own offer at $7,000. And then there's a little bit of a play here. Bidder number 3 comes back with a $8,000 bid. And don't forget, all these bids here, so the 6 bids that we've had so far, are still within 24 hours of the listing, so quite early in the sale. Bidder number 6 comes in, and bidder number 3 bids over that again, and we're just under $10,000 over here, again still under reserve. We've got a little bit of a game here with number 5 coming back, number 3 bidding higher again, and then number 6 coming back, and then there's a little bit of a wait. There's not much that happens for the next week or so. So between November 27th and December 6th, there are no further bids. That could have been an indication that the buyers weren't reaching the same valuation as the seller, that the auction was going to top out at $13,000. On November 30th, the seller made an announcement in the comments, as we saw before, that the auction's duration had been shortened. There's no other bidders that come in for that, so that's, again, an indication that that might have been it for the auction so far. But then, a week later, on December 7th, the seller sends out a message that the reserve has been lowered, and this immediately gets one bid from bidder 7. They bid $14,000, and I know that that was still just a little bit under the reserve. So bidder 8, who has actually been watching all along, sees that the time is coming to a close for this auction and claims their own bid at $15,000. Now, $15,000 was the reserve price, and so they would have been the winner for this auction had it ended right away. But there was still some time to the auction, and the seller had just put in a buy it now of $16,000, just $1,000 higher. So 20 minutes after that original bid, bidder number 8 realizes that anyone else could come along and win the auction for just $1,000 difference. And so bidder 8 places their buy it now bid, which is accepted. And there you have it. So the seller had a qualified buyer just 2 weeks into the auction, and the buyer got a great established site that they had been admiring for some time. And I know that the new owner has already done quite a lot of modifications to the website, including multiplying the monthly revenue by quite a lot. If we just take a look at the screenshot before and after, a little bit more modern. They've kept the same logo. There's more ads on the side. There's more engagement over here over social media. Now, that's not the only changes they've done. And over on the Flippa blog, we actually have a case study for this auction. If you click on the links below, you'll be able to get right to the case study.